Hello, and welcome back to Science with Sully. Be sure to follow and subscribe below as more content's always coming out. Today, I will be talking about something that's very simple and very popular in beginning biology classes, but something that's very, very necessary to know, and that is the central dogma. Now, what is the central dogma? Well, it can be thought of as the blueprint of life as we know it. If there are other types, we don't know of them. As far as animals, plants, and bacteria are concerned, they are going to follow the central dogma. So, it's a blueprint of life. And it's also, this blueprint is 3 steps. So, it's really not that difficult. You would think something such as the blueprint of life would be very, very complicated, but the central dogma really is not. So, this is the blueprint. We have cells. In our cells, we have a nucleus. Within that nucleus, we have DNA. DNA is double helix, and it is always in the nucleus. Well, DNA doesn't go straight to proteins, and proteins are the machines that carry out functions that give us life. So DNA has to make a stop, RNA. What happens is proteins called polymerases copy or transcribe DNA to RNA. Well, what I just said, transcription, is the first step of the central dogma. So you could draw an arrow going down here and write transcription. And we can also note that transcription takes place in the nucleus. Always in our beautiful nucleus we have here. So that's our first step in the central dogma. What happens next? Well, that DNA that we have here, in here, we have 3 pieces, but usually we have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes. They move out of the nucleus as single-stranded RNA. And these RNAs have a couple of things on them that protect them from the harsh environment of the cytosol in the cell. But basically, that's what's called a cap. And they also have what's called a poly-A tail. So they have a bunch of A's, we say. And these protect the RNA from hydrolysis, which is something that's discussed in my previous video. So this part is right here, we have it's called messenger RNA. So our messenger RNA goes through the cell, and as it's going through the cell, it goes through these molecular machines called, they are called ribosomes. And they kind of look like hamburger patties, right? And these ribosomes automatically attach to our messenger RNA, and our messenger RNA goes through these ribosomes, right? It's this RNA over here. It's going through these ribosomes, and the ribosomes are scanning them. And when the ribosomes scan them, a protein starts to emerge. And the protein starts to get longer and longer as it goes down the ribosome. And once the RNA is completely read and the protein is completely translated, you have a new functioning protein. So let's go back to our blueprint over here. RNA goes to a protein. And that process is called translation. And let's take it and let's note, a way to remember translation is translating RNA to amino acids, which we know are the building blocks of proteins. This all together is called the central dogma. This is the blueprint to, as what we know, living things. I hope this video was helpful for you, and please remember to subscribe and share and follow along as more content is released.